Fit to Love is physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness to achieve the happy life you deserve. From exercise to cooking, relationships, and spirituality, you'll find all the inspiration you need right here with our host, JJ Flizanes.
Hello and welcome to the Fit to Love podcast show. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show. Today's show was brought to you by whalewisdomretreats.com. Imagine 5 magical days immersed in the energies of the humpback whales and dolphins, experiencing an intimate and transformational connection with these very special beings. Connecting with these wondrous spirits can be a profoundly moving, deeply healing, and life-altering experience for many people. We invite you to join us on this heart-opening adventure that will touch your very soul to the core. Check out whalewisdomretreats.com and find out more about these amazing retreats, and also download the top 10 places to swim with wild dolphins and whales all over the world. Wouldn't that be fun just to know where you can go next on a vacation that you can just jump into the ocean and be with wild dolphins and whales? So whalewisdomretreats.com. Make sure to check it out. whalewisdomretreats.com. Also on today's show, we're going to be going a little deeper with whalewisdomretreats.com and Ann Gordon. And we're going to be talking about how you can turn a vacation into a healing. I hope you find today's show interesting and inspiring and something to think about for the future, or something to model with something you can do right now. But before we get to the show, and before I introduce Ann, I want to remind you that we are coming up quickly on September. And for those of you that are new to the community, I have finished my first retreat this year in January, and the next one is coming up in September, the 20th through the 23rd in Los Angeles, called The Next Big Step. And I just filmed and put up a video. I don't know that it'll stay there, just because I might film another one. So go to jjflizanes.com, click on events, and when you get to the next big step, or go to my YouTube site, jjflizanes.tv, and you can check out the video just to get a feeling, because it's going to be different than the January retreat, of why you might want to consider coming to September. It will sell out. It is a limited room. There is a payment plan. And at some point, that payment plan is going to end because of the time frame and the proximity to the actual retreat itself. So please check out jjflizanes.com/next big step. Watch the video, read the testimonials, watch the testimonials. If you're ready to move up in your life some way, in some shape or form, like in business or in love or in relationships, you just have a yearning, you have a calling that you've either been ignoring, thinking it's going to go away, or it's just this idea and this mind game that you play that you think it's too hard, you don't know how you'd make it happen, but yet you know that until you actually attempt to do it or do it, it's always going to nag at you. Well, let's break through to that next level and come to the next big step. So on to today's show. Transforming a vacation into a healing. Ann Gordon de Barrigón loves nothing more than sharing her love, passion, and connection with the whales and dolphins with you. She is a certified Dolphin Energy Healer and has a gift for leading powerful guided meditations to help you connect on a deep level with dolphins and whales. She is also a trained biologist and keen observer of animal behavior. You can trust Ann to create a sacred safe space for you to completely let go of all and any stresses in life. She will respect your needs and make you feel at ease and relaxed while enjoying a magical trip of a lifetime. Welcome to the show, Ann.
Thanks, JJ. It's great to be here.
I love what you do. And I before we get into what you do and why, I want you to tell everyone what you do, because what you do is something everyone on the planet needs on a regular basis, like at least annually, if not more than that. I want you to tell people in terms of your intuitive gifts. So I know that you have intuitive gifts, and a lot of the channels that I have and shows that I have focus on, again, unique gifts that people have and our strengths. And I know that you're a certified Dolphin Energy Healer, and I want to know more about that. And I want you to tell us when you got your gifts, how did you know you had a gift, and how you're using your gift.
Okay, very cool. This is fun. So I was drawn to animals from the very beginning. When I was a little kid, my very first word was doggy, not mommy or daddy, but doggy. So I always felt very comfortable with the animals. I felt safe with them. I would go from very young out into nature, walking in the woods, walking on the beach by myself. And my gift is just that connection with the nature. And as I went through my career of studying biology, working as a zookeeper, training animals for movies and television, I just intuitively would use my observation of nature in the animals I worked with, and developing a bit of animal communication and playing around just intuitively with energy healing when the animals needed assistance and support. And then I went to a school that's called Dolphin Heart World that teaches, one, the dolphin life skills and how to apply them in our lives, but also the dolphin energy healing. Now, the funny part was I was not interested in the healing part at all, because my gift is not sensing energy. I can't see it. I can't hardly feel it, not at all. But what my clients that I was practicing with and in the class reported, they really felt something and huge differences. So I started playing around with it. And what I realized my gift was that when I'm sending and tapping into the dolphins and asking them to use me as the channel to reach my clients and send their powerful healing energy, is that I receive a steady stream of visions and messages for my client. For me, it's like watching a movie in my mind. And sometimes these messages and visions make zero sense to me, but when I share them with my clients, sometimes it moves them to tears. It's just amazing.
I love that. And for those of you that didn't hear the bio or the intro to the show, Anne holds whale and dolphin wisdom retreats. Now, did you come up with this yourself or you partner with other people?
I came up with it here. There are people around the world who do retreats with dolphins and whales. And I kind of modeled after some of those, but in the country of Panama, where I now live, what was amazing is when I first came here, in a country with two oceans only 50 miles apart, not one person or company was offering whale watching tours or dolphin tours, nothing. So I literally pioneered the whale watching industry. And then I thought, what better way than to combine my love for all things spiritual with the dolphins and whales, who we can learn so much from, into retreats, package trips where we spend 5 days in tropical paradise islands and going out on the water in a luxury catamaran sailboat, hanging with the dolphins and whales, swimming with them, watching them, learning, and sharing the wisdom.
When was the first time you did your first either personal retreat or you took a group where you realized that this was something you needed to do?
The first time I ever went on a retreat was back in like 2008, 2007, I think, with a company called Wild Quest in the Bahamas, in Bimini. And they run retreats to swim with wild dolphins. And so I went on that and loved what they were doing. And they were kind of my template. And we're good friends, so it's not competition in any way. And so that was my template. I kind of patterned my retreats after theirs in what worked for me, and then improvised on my own. And so I started my retreats here in Panama in 2010.
So I've been to several different islands in the Caribbean and north of Colombia and South America. And I've done a few of those pools that are not what you do at all. So just want to make sure that people understand the difference. If you're swimming with dolphins who are trained in a pool, what Anne does is very different. It's in the wild. And I want, and while we're going to talk about the retreats, because for a couple of reasons. Number one, I am a huge retreat believer. Obviously, those of you that have listened to the show for a long time, you know that I just held my very first retreat here in Los Angeles. And it was not the same kind of retreat. It was a going inward retreat in yourself. It wasn't a communing with nature, which is also extremely important. They're both important. But I believe in taking that time that you have to, because it gives you perspective. It gives you space. It gives you clarity. It gives you rejuvenation time. It gives you expansion time. And so it's not really for people who think like vacations are something of a luxury, I don't look at it that way. And it doesn't mean that a vacation has to be whatever you think it is. It can literally just be a vacation from your life. And so when we're talking about doing some kind of retreat, it's really important to understand what's involved in the retreat and why you would choose to do it. And so for me, when I met Anne and she talked about doing these dolphin and whale retreats, I mean, who does not think that a dolphin and a whale are magical beings? I mean, and I live in California, so I see whales. They're going up and down the coast of California, right where I live, and I often stop and watch and see some, and it's amazing. And I've gone on whale watching trips where we don't really see a whale, but we see lots of dolphins, and it's definitely in the wild, and it's really super fun, but it's different because it's more surface. And what you're doing takes it to another level where we're actually taking these lessons and we're learning them. And I think that is something that needs to be shared, something that needs to be experienced, and something that's necessary, I think, when you're trying to find a path in your life where you feel connected both to yourself or to source or to the earth or to the universe or just in general, because this planet is covered more in water than anything else. So why would we not have a relationship with the beings that live in the water and that have such wisdom for us? And I know Anne's her website, she's got 2 free offers for people. One is a top 10 best places to swim with dolphins and whales in the wild. And the other are messages from these magical creatures that she's getting. And so I'd love if you could share with people. I know I'm went from the retreat and how you do the retreat to the messages, but I think we're going to loop it all together in that what you're learning from them, what messages they're giving, and how that ties into what people are experiencing and how they shift and how it enriches their lives. So talk a little bit about what I just put on the table, which was about the event and how you run it, and then some of those messages and what you get from the dolphins and the whales.
Sure. There's so much. I could go on for days. The retreats, my signature retreats are here in Panama. I've since expanded. Now I go around the world for gray whales in Mexico and dolphins in Bahamas and Hawaii, and got one going to French Polynesia in 2019 and orcas in Washington State. So the retreats in Panama, we stay on this beautiful island where it's one of the Pearl Islands, and we literally can eat breakfast and watch the whales go by as we're in the open air restaurant. And then we get on this catamaran sailboat and we go out every day from 10 to 4, follow the whales and dolphins around. We get in the water with them when the whales and dolphins are interested in us. So for me, it's all about respect. If the whales and dolphins want to be with us, great, then we're all over it. If they don't want to be with us, we respect that. And we observe them from the distance that they choose. So we're never forcing ourselves on them, which is a huge lesson in that, in just being observant. In our human lives, our busy lives, we forget to observe. We just are doing. And then we generally at lunch, we go to a island nearby. It's usually uninhabited. There's many islands, white sand beaches, swim, snorkel coral reefs, have lunch on the boat, go out for more whales and dolphins. Then we come back to the hotel, and after dinner, then I will usually guide meditation. So we connect by observing, by being in the water. And not only is the planet covered in 70% water, but our bodies have about 70% water in them as well. So we're water creatures, whether we know it or acknowledge it or not, we are. And so then we dive into the spiritual connection through guided meditations to meet your dolphin and or whale spirit guide, to learn some of the lessons. And I do group energy healing sessions, and those are fun because I never know what's going to come up, and they can be super powerful. And then the wisdom, oh my gosh, just a really basic thing to start off with. If you're watching dolphins swimming in front of the boat, riding the bow waves, or a whale surfaces out in front of the boat, it is literally impossible to think about the projects you've got coming up and you have to get done, but you're late on, or the bills stacked on your desk, or things that you regret in the past. None of that exists because they bring you right into the present moment, which is such a huge gift for us in our busy world of technology, where us humans are so bad about living in the future and the past. But the dolphins and whales bring us right to that present moment. And by doing that, what comes up is laughter, real relaxation, and you see the inner kid come out, and people get playful and silly, which as adults we rarely do, and something we need to do a whole lot more.
Agreed. And I'm thinking as you're talking about this really needs another name. And I mean, not another name. I'm not trying to change your name, but it needs another adjective. And I think it's meditation. People think of
Mhm.
meditation as being quiet and still, but
Right,
meditation is just about being present and
right.
about quieting your mind sometimes. I mean, sometimes you're having a guided meditation where you're listening to something, but it's about the focus. And you're right, in terms of the being present, I wrote that down even before you said that word, in terms of the, what you're connected. And
Right.
people strive for stress reduction all the time. And
Mhm.
you're not going to get it in a fast paced environment.
Nope.
I mean, not that I'm saying, of course, you have to integrate, right? We need to integrate that we have to be able to
Sure.
slow down in our normal daily lives. But when it comes to these kinds of retreats, it's almost like a meditation retreat as well, because you're in co-creation with those beings and you can't be in your head and thinking about your next project. And it
Mhm.
really gives you time to be present, to get those messages and that clarity that you're seeking. If because I know for me, when I'm definitely in nature and connected more, something that, let's say, an issue or problem I was having, or something, an idea that hadn't been solidified yet, that was sort of looming, all of a sudden, out of the blue, I'd get clarity on it. Why? Because I'm with the animals, or I'm with the earth. I'm earthing. I'm getting great positive energy
Right.
from trees and plants and the ocean. And so I think meditation, that's just my opinion, to think of that, because someone might say, well, do I really need to go somewhere for that much time to be with a dolphin and a whale? Can't I just go watch them, or can't I go watch a video on them? And it's like, well, you understand the value of a meditation retreat. A meditation retreat
Mhm.
is going inward. And even though
Right.
this is not exactly that, it is that though. It's what
Mhm.
happens as a byproduct of being connected to such a magical being. And so in your respect, how, and I meant to ask you, when you're talking about respecting, and if they do or don't want to, how are the indications? How do the dolphins and the whales let you know, just swimming away? How do they know? Are they being coy, that they're ready for you to play with them? Is it about how far they come up to the boat, or things they do when they're at the boat?
Yeah, they are. Well, first, yes, I totally agree with you about meditation. I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. It's like a walking meditation where you're just there and you're just experiencing what is at the moment. So, absolutely, that's what it is. And as far as respect and deciding whether the animals are interested in us or not, for me, um, I've trained in biology. I've worked with animals my entire career. So, like I've said earlier, I love to observe nature. So I can read their body language really well and their behavior. And I've been leading these retreats now for 11 years. So I spend, 4 months out of the year on the water and with them. So I can really tell when they are interested. And sometimes it's as simple as them just swimming away and off they go. When they're interested, it usually is when they're not doing something else. Like here in Panama, it's breeding birthing grounds, meaning when breeding happens, it's very fun to watch, but they have no interest in us whatsoever. It's a bunch of boy whales chasing a female, and it's a game, and they all love it. And the female actually chooses which male she wants out of this gang of boys pushing and shoving and play fighting each other for her attention. But none of them could care less about us. And they're one track mind. So, not a good time to get in the water with a bunch of rowdy boy whales. But if you come across a resting whale or a mother who's resting with her calf, her young calf, and you slip into the water very quiet, and you just go to a certain distance where you can see her and the baby underwater, yet not too close to be in their space. I found them to be very, very gracious, and the baby's equally curious about us. And I've had mothers even, we get in the water and they're far away, and I've had them come within 10 feet of us, checking us out. So then you know for sure.
They're
I
interested.
had one, yeah, that they're interested. I had one time, she came so close that humpback whales have this long, 15-foot long pectoral fin on their side. She had to tuck it into her body to avoid hitting us. She was so close.
Wow. I had some clients that went on a trip, and they did it through a company, and they took some video, and just, it was, again, a life-changing experience. And the video was amazing about the whales that were turning over and playful and letting you pet their belly, and the baby jumping around and play. It was just breathtaking, because I've seen some video, but to have it come from someone that you know personally who's taking it, and of course, obviously, just being there. Another thing that keeps coming to my mind that I think is important, I'm just gonna rewrite your website and make sure we add all these different words. There's a healing property, and I know you can't promise that to people. You can't promise come have a trip and be healed, but there's a huge healing in the energy shared, not only with the water and with the earth and with your downtime, but with the dolphins and the whales. That energetic exchange, first of all, it's anti-inflammatory. So any pains people have, when people go on vacation, they think, oh, I felt so good. It must have been because I wasn't stressed out. And yes, that's part of it. But the other part of it is you earthing, you being in touch with the earth. And that just this trip can be healing because of how long you're actually just in touch with the earth. And again, that in itself changes your frequency. It reduces inflammation, which is going to reduce your pain. It's going to improve your digestion. Obviously, you're going to feel lighter and happier and more present, and all of those things. If you're dealing with life-threatening illnesses or disease or depression or any of these situations where you're looking for the magic pill, I'd say go on a retreat, because honestly, you're going to have a life-changing experience. Your life's going to be put in perspective pretty quickly. And that's not even taking into consideration some of these lessons that we're still going to get to, that the whales and the dolphins have given. And I'm just still in this space of, I've always wanted to do this. And I sit up at the top of the mountain, or the top of the peninsula here in California at Palos Verdes, and I look down and I see the whales and sometimes dolphins. And I try to jump and dive in there with them, because I'm also a water sign. So, and what's your sign?
I'm Libra, so I'm not water, but I'm really balanced. So I'm grounded earth, but I can go way out there on the spiritual side too.
Well, I'm sure somewhere there's some water in your chart.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Whether it be your moon or your node or your ascendant, but the Pisces in me definitely craves water, which is why I've lived in California for 18 years, and definitely will always want to be connected to water at some point and feel the best and get the most healing from being around some kind of water and some kind of earth. So let's, as I divert, because I'm getting excited about the trip. So I know, obviously, it's a vacation. So on a vacation, you're going to get relaxed and you're going to be disconnected, and that's all great. But I want to know what I'm going to learn from the dolphins. Is it that you're translating information from the dolphin? Because I know that you said you get pictures and images that make no sense to you. So is the dolphin literally talking to each individual person about their stuff?
Yes. When I'm doing a private healing session, yes. They will actually come through, and the person will often set an intention for something specific that they want to work on, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever challenge, or a group healing. Then it's hard to know which message is for who, but it doesn't matter. I trust that whatever comes up is good for all. And yeah, it's quite amazing what comes through. When I first started doing it, I was doing it for a woman, doing a session for this gal who studied swans. So I kind of fully expected a swan to come through, but no, a manatee came through. And I'm like, a manatee? That makes no sense. Okay, so I'll tell her. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's my second favorite animal. I was like, okay. But more profound is, for example, sometimes octopus will come through. And octopus represents sexual healing. And every single time that comes through and I explain that to my client, they validate that absolutely that was appropriate for them. It's very powerful and it blows me away.
So you take groups, but then it sounds like you take individuals. Do individuals have to do a certain, like, is it individuals while they're there in the group, or is it individuals that fly down and meet you someplace very specifically for a length of time?
I can do, when I do individuals, it's not usually on the retreat because I just don't have time. Then I'll do group sessions. When it's individual, I can do those. I can do like a VIP or what I call a deep dive trip just for one or two people, and then go really deep individually in their experience with the dolphins and whales, and then in the healing sessions. But I also do over the phone dolphin energy healing sessions where we don't have to get wet, we don't have to travel, and I can send the energy, because as you know, energy is energy. We don't have to be in the same room, in the same location at all to have that effect.
So tell me then, are you with a dolphin, or is this just you channeling through if you're doing it over the phone?
I am not with the dolphins at the time. I just step aside and ask the dolphins to use me as their channel to send the energy directly to my clients.
Well, that's very cool. I'm glad to know that there's another option for those people who want to work with you who aren't ready to put the schedule together to get that trip happen. So now we've seeded it so they can think about when they'd like to maybe commit to something like that. In the meantime, if they want some healing, they can get it faster by working with you just individually over the phone. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I actually do every month, I have a free group dolphin energy healing session. It's always the last weekend of the month. And it's just, a Zoom call. We just call in and I do channel the energy for everybody who shows up.
Well, that's exciting. Tell me again the details of that. That's the last, what?
The last weekend. It depends. My schedule always varies. So it's the last weekend of every month. And if you just go to dolphinhealing.net, you'll see all that information. You can sign up. And once you're on the list, then I just send you a notice when it's going to happen.
Well, I'm going to sign up for that. I think everybody should sign up for that. Dolphinhealing.net. Test her out. And this stuff is amazing. I mean, everybody, not everybody, but a majority of my tribe would be very interested in having a free Zoom call for some dolphin healing to get their excitement up about possibly coming and obviously being with you on a retreat. I mean, I know I want to do that. That's an easy no-brainer for me. I love the water. I love the ocean. I love those animals, and I love spirit, and I love the gifts that you have, and who doesn't need a freaking vacation? So we all do. It's so important to slow down. You cannot keep the speed that most of us live and think you're going to be unscathed in either the mental health department or the physical health department taking a nosedive. It is unnatural for us to live at this pace all the time. And so to me, that's why vacations and celebrations are not luxury. They are a necessity to balance all the other crap that we do throughout the days, right?
Right, absolutely. And when you were talking about, earthing and being on the water, absolutely, your bare feet in the sand. But just as you were saying, just by being in their energy, I have noticed that after spending 5 days out with the whales, a distinct difference, and find that it just their energy gently releases limiting beliefs and blocks that you no longer need, just by being with the whales with zero processing happening. It happens all by itself.
Well, who doesn't love that? No effort. It just happens. Now, would you be willing to, you can protect the names and faces of those who you don't want to out their stories, but would you be willing to share some of the healings that you've had? I know you mentioned about the sexual healing and the octopus. Are there any other fun stories you can share with us about people who've experienced some of these healings? And not even just on the retreat, but people that you've met on the free last weekend of the month.
Sure. I'll tell you an amazing story. And I've had a similar situation twice in my years of running these retreats. I just did one in Mexico with the gray whales. And there was a woman on this trip who I didn't know. A friend of hers invited her. And the friend had been on a previous trip with me. And I didn't find this out until the last day of the retreat when she shared with us that her husband had died 7 years previous. And in the most horrific way, she and her husband were driving two separate cars, driving down the same road, one following the other. He was in front and a few car lengths ahead, and this horrible car accident happened, and his car was engulfed in flames. And she could do nothing but watch. And I can't even imagine the horror of living through that.
Wow.
And on the last day of our retreat with the gray whales, she shared with us that for the first time in 7 years, she truly felt happy.
That's amazing.
It was so beautiful and so touching to me that I could facilitate that. But I had no idea the story. I didn't need to know the story. I just do what I do, give people the opportunity to be with the dolphins and whales, hold space for the healing, and lead some meditations and few group healing energy, and it just happens.
That's beautiful. And the stories are important. I know you don't, like, in terms of what you do, you don't need to know going in what their story is, because you trust and know that transformation is going to happen. Mm-hmm. But for those that are listening and those that are considering, like, why would I do something like this? If there's any resistance to that, I mean, of course, there's the vacation part of it, which is great, but it's different than a vacation. This is a mindful, conscious decision to be a part of what goes on in nature to heal you, and to heal you on many levels, on a physical level, on an emotional level, and on a spiritual level. And so I think that story really represents that people, when they want change, will do what they need to bring about that change, or at least hopefully they know what's available to them. I mean, maybe that woman had no idea that that's what was going to happen, but I think that's part of the message for you to send to people, is that this is what's possible when you do this. Because I think the downside is that people could look at it as like, oh, that's a nice vacation. It's a trip. It's, it's so much more than that. And that's the point of why we're having this conversation, because it's another way to heal. We look at different healing modalities, whether it be functional medicine or nutrition or spirituality or law of attraction or astrology. And we look at healing, but we have to look elsewhere as well to see, where can I heal that's unconventional, but if not more powerful, a more appropriate in so many ways, kind of coming back to our origin and coming back to the simplicity and the beauty and the power that is in the earth and in the beings that also live in the ocean, that can give us, again, like you said, that great wisdom. So is there another story? I kind of want to do one more, if you have any examples of another situation, whether it be a message from the dolphins or a situation with one of the participants that you've had.
Sure. I've had people who came on my trips and were super stressed out, or they were lost. They didn't know what direction they were going, and they just felt like they needed to come. I had one gal who really had no idea. She was she's from Scotland, and she traveled all the way to be on one of my retreats. And she thought it would be fun and interesting, and okay, we'll go do this. And what she found is she developed her own personal deep connection with the whales and also the earth. And so when she went back to Scotland, and at the time when she first came, she was having some serious relationship challenges and just, really feeling like lost in life. And she went back and she discovered a purpose to her life, was to bring this whale energy and this deep sense of connection to nature back to Scotland, and to connect with the mountains and to bring it to the people over there. And now she just recently sent me an email and said she's thinking about, would I be interested in joining with her? If she brought a group from Scotland, would I co-host it with her? So now she's actually thinking about leading these kinds of trips on her own. And it's so exciting to just watch her blossom.
That's great. That's amazing. It's when you find something so profound, you want to share it with other people. And some people, obviously, when it changes your life, you just want to keep sharing it and help other people discover it as well. Absolutely. So I think that's great. So, Anne, we're going to have you back because I know we need to talk about more of the lessons from the dolphins and the whales and a lot more of the wisdom that you have. But I want to make sure people understand all the different things that you're offering. And I know I mentioned that you have 2 free gifts on your website. Why don't you tell us about those 2 free gifts?
Sure. I put together a fun report. It's an easy download PDF of the top 10 places in the world to swim with wild dolphins, including my favorite, which is obviously here in Panama is a great one, and Kona, Hawaii on the Big Island, where you can literally walk off the beach and swim with dolphins almost on a daily basis. It's amazing. So I tell insider tips and what the best tour operators and how to make it all happen. And then the other one is a compilation of, I've kept written record of all the wisdom I've ever received during my healing sessions and meditations over the years. And that's all gone into an ebook that's called Messages from the Sea. And you can also download that and start reading all of the little bits of wisdom. And there's so much. I mean, the dolphins talk to us about play, the gray whales about forgiveness, whales represent abundance, how to stand in empowerment, how to achieve perfect balance, transparency. I could go on for days. So there's just so much. And this is all in this free ebook on my website.
Okay, that's awesome. And then there's one more free thing you said you did the last weekend of the month. You do a healing?
Yes. So those 2 gifts I just mentioned are on whalewisdomretreats.com. And then the other is the free monthly group Dolphin Energy Healing session that I hold one day on the last weekend of each month. And that you can sign up for on dolphinhealing.net.
Excellent. Okay. I know that everyone's going to both of those websites right now, and I will be definitely on one of those healing sessions and getting all the rest of your stuff. And I'm really happy to be partnering with you, especially this month here in May, to help promote and talk about why this is such an important part of our own self-growth and healing. And again, it's not just a vacation. It's a meditation retreat, basically, that has amazing gifts as well as, again, healing properties, both on a physical level, emotional, and spiritual. So, Anne, we will have you back. I want to talk more about the dolphins and the whales. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's been great fun. And thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to connecting with your listeners.